Our gospel lesson this morning comes from the gospel according to Matthew, chapter 5, verses 13 through 20. It is found on page 786 in your pew Bible, and I invite you to read along. Jesus is continuing his disciple orientation session. He has shown them healings and miracles. He has preached in generalities of the Beatitudes on the hillside, and now he gets down to brass tacks. He uses something very common that they would know and understand to explain the spiritual. Salt and light passages are found in each of the synoptic gospels, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, but Matthew's account is most extensive and detailed. Now, what's perplexing is that in verses 17 through 20, Jesus speaks about not abolishing the law and commandments, as it contradicts other statements that Jesus has made about the law being no longer necessary. We may remember that he was continually breaking the law. He healed on the Sabbath, he did not follow hand-washing rituals, and he associated with the wrong people. The conflict for us comes with the understanding of the word law. He was referring to not to ceremonial law, or he was referring to ceremonial law, which is how worship and sacrifice was conducted, and civil law, how they were to act in community, following purity laws, Sabbath laws, dietary laws, association laws. What he wanted them to keep was the moral laws, God's 10 Commandments. Jesus does indeed abolish dependence on the ceremonial and civil laws that held them prisoners and frees them to live by God's moral laws. Righteousness and faith-filled graciousness to all should exceed all the small-mindedness and rigidity of the scribes and Pharisees, who were focused on human rather than God's law. Let us listen for the word of the Lord. Matthew is speaking.
You are the salt of the earth, but if salt has lost its taste, how can its saltiness be restored? It is no longer good for anything. It is thrown out and trampled underfoot. You are the light of the world. A city built on a hill cannot be hid. No one, after lighting a lamp, puts it under the bushel basket, but on the lampstand, and it gives light to all in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father in heaven. Do not think that I have come to abolish the law of the prophets or the prophets. I have come not to abolish, but to fulfill. For truly, I tell you, until heaven and earth pass away, not one letter, not one stroke of a letter will pass from the law until all is accomplished. Therefore, whoever breaks one of the least of these commandments and teaches others to do the same will be called least in the kingdom of heaven. But whoever does them and teaches them will be called great in the kingdom of heaven. For I tell you, unless your righteousness exceeds that of the scribes and Pharisees, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. May God add blessing to the reading and hearing of God's holy word.
Jesus has hit his lesson stride and is pulling out the big guns to illustrate his point. Salt and light, to which we respond, big whoa. These images do nothing for us. We have large thermopane windows that will let in light all during the day. And should it be dim or be nighttime, we have lights, we have electrified our houses, We have lights that we can flip on and off with the whim of a switch. The natural rhythms of day and night no longer imprison us, and in fact, there's a negative association with light in some ways because we're called irresponsible if we leave our lights on too long. Now, salt. Salt is so common, it's in everybody's kitchen, it's in all the foods. In fact, some foods we don't even know that it is in. It is so plentiful, we slather our roads with it anytime it is icy. Again, it has a negative note, because how many times have we been told to reduce or eliminate salt in our diet because it will cause serious health effects? And we've all had our cars run from the salt on the highway. So these images of salt and light just don't have the same impact today as they did for Jesus' original audience. Perhaps going back a few centuries will help us. Now, the three most important elements of Jesus' day were water, light, and salt. And while it's easy for us moderns to understand the need for water, we all get thirsty, not so much our need for the latter. Now, salt was essential to the ancient world. In fact, the Romans and Greeks considered it divine, the most useful of all substances. It was rare, costly, valuable. In using that, Jesus is naming for us that we are both divinely precious and essential to God's ministry in the world, and that a true follower of Christ is a rare and precious thing. Salt was also a preservative. It kept food from spoiling. Remember, hot country, no refrigeration. It also kept dead bodies from rotting. Jesus is naming that we too, as followers, can keep the world from spoiling. As we hear in Psalm 12, by being gracious, upright, conducting our affairs with justice, not giving in to panic, sharing freely with others, instead of being fearfully corrupt and self-serving. Now, there's a note of caution here, and many over the centuries have gotten this wrong. The church is not about preservation. We are not in the business of preserving rituals or rightness or merely serving as an embalming tool. Thirdly, salt lends flavor to food. Jesus is naming that those who are with him get flavor and zip to life. That life is so much more wonderful and enjoyable with him than without him. And boy, did we get this wrong. Unfortunately, our forebears, thank you, medieval church, Puritans, Pilgrims, Catholics, Southern Baptists, TV Bible thumpers, have left us to associate Christianity as the thing that saps life and fun and flavor from life. You know, you've experienced it when the eyebrows go up. Oh, I see you're one of those. One of those goody two-shoes who don't drink or smoke or swear or cheat or steal or lie or have sex or dance. In short, do not have any fun in life. And to be honest, we don't do much to dispel this misconception. How many times have we said, oh, I can't do that, I must go to church? Or perhaps to a friend who seems to have gone off the wrong way. You should go to church. a pious pretentiousness, hate speech, worship that can crucify a participant for sitting in the wrong pew, wearing the wrong clothes, or putting the candles just in the wrong place. And don't even talk about all our communion do's and don'ts. Salt was considered to be the purest of all elements. It was made from the sea and the sun, those elements that God alone created. Jews regularly offered it as a sacrifice for purity. But there was one other quality of salt that I believe gets overlooked, and I think it is the key to what Jesus is trying to tell us here, and the original disciples. Salt sparkles. It glows, especially in its raw state. It glistens in the sun, and it sparkles, and here's the key here. It is attractive, inviting, energizing, dazzling, awe-inspiring. People are naturally drawn to it. They want to hold it, touch it, taste it, and own it for themselves. They want to bring it into their homes. They want to hold it and show others and share it with others. They want to put it in every facet of their daily lives. They want to enjoy it for themselves and share it. That causes me to wonder. When was the last time we, as Christians, sparkled? When was the last time you or I sparkled with Christ in a way that was attractive, inviting, energizing, dazzling, awe-inspiring, that caused people to be naturally drawn to it, wanted to hold it, touch it, taste it, and own it for themselves? Bring it into their homes and incorporate it into every facet of their daily life. They want to enjoy it for themselves and share it with others. And just in case we didn't get it the first time, Jesus talks about the light of the world, knowing that salt embodies it and glows with it. But the light that salt shines doesn't come from itself, from the sea and the sun which God created. Salt is the very element that reflects God's light and adds richness and flavor to our own, but only if we share it. Jesus was very well aware of our human tendency to be, dull, to allow our fear of what would people think silence us, to keep the joy and sparkle of Christ under our basket of fear of exposure, vulnerability, isolation, and ridicule. It's a big basket. It was not a wicker basket. It was an earthen basket, because a lamp of those days was a mean affair. It was a simple dish that had fat in it or oil, and a wick floated in it. And guess what? No matches. So if it went out, it was a real pain to light again. And so if you had to leave the house, you would safeguard it and your home from burning down underneath a basket with holes in it so that it would be safe, because it was precious. What we miss here is that the light didn't go out. What we miss here is that when we had to leave the house, if we hide it, if we hide the joy and the peace and the hope and the love that being in relationship with Jesus is all about, that light still will not go out. But we are not living as vibrantly as we can be, and we are refusing Jesus' call to discipleships. Jesus calls us to SOS. Now that doesn't mean save our ship, or even save ourselves. It means show our sparkle. Oh, look at you smiling. Isn't that wonderful? Show our sparkle. Let the world shine with Jesus' love, hope, peace, and joy. It comes from within. We can't help it. It's already there. Just let it out. Well, how do we do that? We follow Jesus' example, which the psalmist articulates. Deal kindly and fairly with all persons, no exceptions. Conduct all our affairs with justice for everyone. Give generously to those who are in need, not because they deserve it, but because we are all together in one family of Christ. Walk calmly amidst chaos and panic. We don't need to be afraid. Bring hope when everyone is running around with fears of calamity. And be happy, knowing that the Lord is good and his steadfast love endures forever, period. Now you may have noticed that this list does not include standing on the street corner yelling the prophets. It does not include lecturing others on moral rightness or making a show of our superiority because I go to church. Or using our Bible knowledge as a weapon, or hating or excluding any person on earth. In short, not claiming our rightness. So the question before us today is when was the last time you or I, as Christ's disciple, with Christ's love broiling around inside us, allowed it to sparkle so that it would be attractive, inviting, energizing, dazzling, all-inspiring, that people are naturally drawn to it, want to hold it, touch it, taste it, bring it home for their own. They want to incorporate it into every facet of their lives. They want to enjoy it for themselves and share it with others. So today, yes, right now, and all week long, I invite you, no, Christ implores you to SOS. Shine our sparkle as beloved disciples of Christ. We will change the world.